So hopefully, hope you can all hear me right now. I think I've got everything turned on and plugged in. So here we go. Let me see if it's showing. Yep, it's showing okay there. All right, so this one is actually, some people think it's a very difficult little unit, little part of what's going on, because it's really one of the first introductions to analysis that we do. I know we've done a little bit of adding things up and subtracting, but we're going to talk about analyzing. And I pre-did a video for you, so I'm going to go more into how the data was derived than what to do with it. I've already, oops, sorry about that. I've just clicked on the wrong thing. I've already given you a video about how to analyze the data and how to do this number 3, 4.3, which is the roof material analysis. But that will make a lot more sense after you see how this actually works. So that's really what I'm going to talk about, is how did this data come about? And I'm not going to show you that exact data coming about. I'm going to show you the program that got used to create that data. And the program, it's an old program actually. It's from Department of Energy. The last time it was updated was, major update was 2012. They still update, a lot of the weather data and things like that. There are other programs out there, but this one is a Department of Energy. It's well done. It's fairly easy to use. And if you put your models in correctly, it is right. It actually is correct. Now, the reason that the DOE is not using it as much and keeping it up anymore is they were sort of the leaders of the pack in energy analysis for buildings. But since then, design packages have taken that, basically the skeleton of what was provided and how to do it and where to do it, and it's all been included. So as an example, you can in Revit now essentially reproduce this analysis, and your building is already there. You don't have to build it again in another program. Same way as if you do it in Bentley. SketchUp is way too weak. They would never do anything like that. But a lot of programs do this. And then there are many programs that have been made by energy companies, GE, Bechtel, a bunch of the other ones that create and build energy products that have their own standalone product that you import your building design into. But this still provides a really kind of a cool thing. So I'm going to try to find that now. It's on my desktop somewhere, so I've got like 9 screens running right now, so I have to sort of reorganize myself a bit. Here it is right here. It's called eQuest 3-64. And I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to pull it up to my upper screen so that you can see it. Come on, it's not going to let me do that. I'll create a new project via a schematic design wizard, and it won't let me move it there, so I have to, here we go. Now I can bring it up. So this is what it looks like, and you can tell it's got a pretty old style interface that's a little bit clunky, but it sure works. Okay, so here we go, and I'm going to make a new, where's my building shell, where's my, see, when I came up here, it did a new weird thing. Let me open a new one. There we go. I'm going to use this schematic design wizard, and I'm just going to show you. Now, what's really cool is people think, oh, well, Skylights are good. I'll always put in skylights. Or this is good. I'll always do this. You've got 41 pages of inputs, all detailed technically, and then this thing will calculate your building depending on exactly where you are and the weather pattern. There is no best design. There is just good design that's based on data. So this is the type of thing that you need to do all the time. Now, the purpose of this is to show before you build your building to the planners that your building is going to be energy efficient and is going to meet the rules. So I'm going to analyze this with respect to California Title 24, which is the California Building Code. There's all sorts of other ways we could do it. But this is going to say, are you meeting California's energy design requirements? And I can do this at the beginning of my project. So instead of having to make very, very expensive, difficult decisions at the end, I can do it early on. So this is called a preliminary compliance report that lets you know if the architect or the designer needs to call out something special. Like I said, this is an old code vintage, 2010, 2012. So this is an example. It would not meet current standards, but it'd be cool. Anyway, I'm going to do a 2-story office building, and I have to say where we are. So I'm in the Sacramento area, and I'll pick, here's the first town that I could do Arden. We could do the Arden area or the Carmichael area or the Citrus Heights area. All of those are so near us that it doesn't really matter. And what it's going to do is it's going to go find the weather pattern in 1991. Now, you'll wonder why they picked 1991. And they picked it because that was considered a normal year. It was the best normal year they could find. But it's at the high end of normal, so that they can do a conservative job with their estimate. Okay? So this is one of the years that is able to be picked to meet certain standards if you're doing a weather analysis. And then there's all sorts of stuff that you can figure out. It's a 25,000 square foot building and things like that. This is about who's responsible for this thing. Whenever there's a design that affects the public, somebody's got to sign it off. So these are 3 or 4 different people who will be signing it off and where we get to see their sign-offs. And then this is your basic building. And I can import a building sort of, but I do a different one. I'll do a T-shaped building. And I can adjust sizes and stuff and floor sizes. And this says there's a perimeter and a core. The perimeter has one type of heating, and the core does, and the rest has another. Okay? So then we go on to another one. Oh my gosh, this is about all the construction, how it's made. How a building is made obviously has a big impact on the energy efficiency of it. And then there's things like, how about ceilings and floors? How are those made? They're another impact. How about the types of windows and the types of doors that you might have? And on windows, how about what type of window you've got, what type of frame you've got, and then how much window you've got on different areas. Okay, and do you have exterior shades and skylights, and how is your area used? Like this one says it's an office, so 70% of it is office space, and there's corridor and lobby and all these types of things. And then how many people per square foot are allowed? Or sorry, square foot per person. Okay? So these are all things because people give off energy and we suck up oxygen and we blow out carbon dioxide, and that all has to do with your HVAC. So you see how complex a design gets, and this is before you've even done any design. And then how much energy is used for lighting, task lighting, plug loads in each of those areas. And if there are unoccupied times, how much has to stay on. Then we get to how about your schedule? When is it open? My building is open 8 to 5. On days off, it's unoccupied. Maybe there's 2 seasons. Who knows? This gives you lots to do because it's going to calculate hour by hour, day by day, month by month through 1991. So if there's 2 seasons, it lets you have different schedules. Now, how is your HVAC system made? How are the zones identified? And what are the standard temperatures? What is the efficiency and for the cooling and for the heating? How about the fans that blow things around? How about, here's more about fans. When are they turned on and when are they turned off? Is there a package unit? How about hot water? All that kind of stuff goes into an analysis, which is pretty incredible. And it's pretty complex. There's a book of about 600 pages that tells you all the calculations that have to be done. It's AWD, AWSD, something like that, or ASHRAE. So there we go. I've got a building. I've just defined it. And now I get to do the rest of the work. Okay, now those were all things that the designers have control of. Okay, I can even twist this. This is saying that north is up here, south is down here, east and west. And if I look at it in 3D, come on, 3D, where'd it go? It's thinking slowly, slowly, slowly. Come on, think. Well, that's a bummer that I'm locking up on this. It's working. Well, that really stinks. I might have to close it and start her up again because it's not letting me do anything. All right. I'll see if I can get rid of it, close the program, and I'll just do another one just really quick. So let me go find that again. Start her up. There we go. That looks better. I just made it a box this time. Let's see if this will come up this time. Nope, it's freaking out again. It's just not going to make... I don't know why it won't make a 3D today. It was making it earlier. That's what happens sometimes. I'll just run one and hopefully our energy simulation works. But for those of you who watched the demonstration that I've already done, wow, it's just not doing well today. I don't know what's going on with my little program today. That's a bummer. Looks like something's died on me. I'll give it one more shot. Okay, so now I got a little square box. I'm not going to try to show you the 3D because that's obviously not working today. But once we've done that, then we get to actually simulate the building's performance. And look, it just calculated this thing's energy. Now that is flipping amazing that so quickly it can go through and calculate how much energy is going to get used. And you'll see that it even tells me how much of the energy is lighting, how much is equipment, how much is heating and cooling, how much is gas for water heating, it's space heating. Of course, I'm in a weird area. I didn't reset this one. And it says I'm going to use 217,000 kilowatt hours. So if a kilowatt hour was $1, if it cost you $1, this building would cost me $217,000 a year for energy. Now it's not $1. It's anywhere between around here, 20 cents and 60 cents, depending on your tier and all that kind of stuff. That's still a hefty amount of money. But this is where those numbers came from. See that number right there? On the analysis I gave you, that is the number. So what could I do? Now there's one other thing I can do. I can see if this building complies. Oh, let's see. I've got to go back to my building creation. Yes. Yeah, so I have to give it a building creation set. La 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 la, that should be enough. I'll see if that does it. So now I'm going to simulate my building one more time really quick. And I'll perform a compliance. And it says, do you want to see if this building complies? And it's going to do all sorts of things. So it's saying, okay, well, you got one thing in there that's a little bit odd that we're going to fix. We'll do that. So it's doing the rule set, and it's checking all the rules it knows against my building definition. And you can see it's really cruising through, and it's checking it all through the year. And it's doing the sizing and the annual simulation and a budget for numbers. And it's going through that, and it just calculated hour by hour, day by day. And it gives me a warning. I don't meet Title 24. So that's not good. I can't get into my building unless I do. But it tells me why. It tells me my space cooling and my indoor fans are way off. I'm using way too much space cooling and way too much fan, and so I'm off in my total usage. And it gives me tons more information. This is all stuff that a planner and an engineer and a designer wants to know to make sure that they design within code so that we do a good job. Yeah, so Eric's saying, what are kilowatt hours in solar? And let me just do that really quickly. So a kilowatt is power, which means how fast do you do energy? Okay, so if you think of cars on a freeway, and each car is a little packet of energy, how much power would be how fast all those cars are going down the freeway. You got a lot more energy going down the freeway when that's packed and they're all going fast than when you got one or two. Okay? And so those cars are like electrons in the wires. So the more power the more electrons you got zipping, and they're going fast, and they've got all this energy. But we don't pay for power. We pay for energy. So what they do is they count how much power you use, your power, and they multiply it by the energy. So if you use a lot of power for a short time, okay, it doesn't cost as much as a lot of power for a long time. Yeah. So Eric says every time your meter spins once, that's 1 kilowatt hour. Okay. And so that's a good way of saying it. Okay. But what you do is you pay for energy. And those are kilowatt hours. Now the interesting thing is you pay a different amount for energy depending on when and how you use it. That's why they have what are called smart meters, so that you can do a good job with that. Okay, so this is all in kilowatt hours. It's the amount of energy that you've used. And you actually have to give this to the planner, and they're going to check you after your building is made and after your building is done. They're going to check you. So let's look and see what's up with this. I'm going to take a quick snip, and I'm going to throw it on the Jamboard. It says my building does not comply. So let me throw it onto my Jamboard here. And we're going to look and we're going to see if I can do a little bit better. So here I can see that. Come on, my pen. Fat. There's a big number and there's a big number. I have to affect those two numbers, or I have to save something here. So I'm going to go back to my thing here, and I'm going to go back to my wizard, and I'm going to go, I wonder what I can fix. Well, I can fix all sorts of things, but it told me that it was about heating and cooling. So let me go to my heating and cooling, and I go, oh man, my cooling has an effective energy rating of 8.5. That's terrible. Okay? 14 to 16 is really good. So I got some old dog here. So let me just see what happens if I change that. I won't even make it awesome. I'll make it 13.5. Okay? And look at this energy on my heating. 80% efficient. Well, on a big unit, you can get up to 93, 94. So let me make that 0.9. And let's just see what happens if that helps me out. So I have to re-simulate it. Always have to simulate. Let's see. Well, that did something. I'm down below 200. So it did something for me. That's good. So let's do my compliance again. Here we go. Yep. It's going to go through all these calculations. And this is amazing. This really, if you had to do each one of these calculations, there's thousands and thousands of calculations going on here. Internal application error. That's not good. My program is creaming out. I wonder what it didn't like there. So that's not good. Well, so I can't so this thing's having a lot of problems today that it didn't. I've actually ran all these this morning, and it was running fine, so it's having an issue. Project title has to be saved. Okay. That's good. It's not letting me run a compliance analysis. My God. let's just go with a 0.85 back on that and see if it might be freaking out because of what I put in there. No, it's just stuck here. It's not letting me run my compliance analysis. But you get the picture on this, right? Is I get to rerun these things until I get one that complies. All right. Now, what I did in this on the one that you did, I'm just going to start cancel. Let me just start a new one really quick. What I did is I used just a standard little building, a single story, I don't even remember what I called it, multifamily. I made it single story. But what I did is I started playing with the roof structures. So you can see all the different roof structures that you can make and all the different roof systems that you can do and the roof colors that you can do and the roof insulation that you can do and even the interior insulation that you can put on. Okay? So that's where your data came from that I gave you for, let's see if, boy, this thing is just bombing out on me. Okay? On the other one. So the upshot is you want to get this number right here to look good. It's got to be positive. And once you do, you can tell your architect that their building complies and that you can use it. You will not get to occupy your building until it complies. And with Cal Green, thank goodness, you actually then have to prove that your building complies. Okay? You actually have to run your building and see what's going on. Okay? All right, so here we go. That's what you're going to put in here. You're going to put in here that data set that I gave you. Okay, and I think your data set is here. And so here's your data set. I ran a number of eQuest operations on a building, and I said, hey, the roof must be important. Everybody tells me it's a big deal. And you know, the roof salesman and the window salesman, I'm going to save you your whole entire energy bill. If you just re-roof with this shingle, or if you use this paint, or if you use this window. And don't you believe it, you need to calculate every building every time. Even the way the building sits on the lot and which direction it faces has some effect. So I just picked a little building and I looked at something that would have an annual energy use of about 19,000 kilowatt hours. Now that's going to be somewhere around, $5,000-$6,000 a year. So it's not small, but it's not huge. Annual energy cost, if I go to the low end, is going to be about $3,800. I based it on 20 cents per kilowatt hour, which doesn't really exist now. Okay? So if I wanted to, I could change that. But I get some numbers here. And I reran it by making a change in that roof. So I changed the color. I happen to use an advanced wood frame house. Okay? And I changed the color from a standard shingle color to a 0.4. That's like a gray. Okay? And people go, all right, you're going to save all this money. It'll be good for the environment. And look at how much energy I saved. I saved about 60 kilowatt hours. So that's a 60-watt bulb running for 1,000 hours. Okay, well, that seems like a lot, but it's really not. A 60-watt bulb running for 1,000 hours. That would be 1 hour a day for 3 years, so 3 hours a day. I saved the equivalent of a 60-watt bulb. And it saved me $12. So if this cost me any money to do, it didn't help me much. So then I go, no, I know what the problem is. I don't have much insulation. So I put in R14. R14 is pretty standard. And it saved me another $20. And then I go, yeah, well, that's not really good. I really want an R30, which is actually more than you're allowed to put on. And that R30 didn't save me any money. It just cost me money to put on. Now, that's not very intuitive, but it's telling you that this is doing the job. That more doesn't help. There's something else that's causing the energy, not insulation on the roof. So then I took it down and I said, okay, well, let me reduce that, but put a radiation barrier on. Radiation barriers are good. I've seen lots of stuff on that. And that didn't help either. Now, don't get me wrong. There are many hundreds of thousands of buildings where that insulation would do good. The point of this exercise is that you need to calculate. And it's important. And you don't just get to guess. And there are good principles. There are principles that are, you should insulate. Duh. But the right amount and a good design means that you understand the specifics of it. So then there's one more principle. These don't always work. This doesn't always work. This doesn't always work. This doesn't always work. There's one principle that so far I have seen always works. If you want to reduce energy, make the building smaller. Period. Just shrink the dang thing. Make it smaller. Now, it could be that you're not allowed to do that because the building has to function in a certain way too. But if you can find ways, and here's another thing. Sometimes you want a building that looks cool. People won't come if it doesn't look cool, maybe. And so this isn't the last resort in design, but it's the end all of energy. And remember, energy is one part of design. That's why I think design is so cool. If you're a one-track designer, I only design around energy, that's kind of boring. Energy is one part. There are many parts of the design. There's low VOC. There's renewables. There's sustainability and long term. And then there's millions of things to do with function. And then there's millions of things to do with how it looks. So cool design has all of these parts to it. But you do need to know how to analyze something. So here's data that will help you analyze. When you analyze something, you break it down into pieces and organize it in such a way that it helps you make a decision. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to look at this and see if it helps you make a decision. And here are some things you can think about. You can help decide if your material selection is important. So you might be trying to make a decision, and I'm going to let you sort of make it up. So, but if you go, I want to make a really cool looking roof, and I'm worried about energy. I wonder if the material I use is going to be a big factor. Well, by looking at it in this fashion, you can say, probably not. It's not going to be a big factor. Is roof pitch important? Well, the area of your roof does seem to make a difference, so it could be. Okay? You might then be going, well, what else can I think about with a roof? Right? Roof area, material selection, how it looks, maybe the weight of the roof. You go, wow. Well, I can then really put some cool lightweight thing on and not worry about having a lot of weight in things that seem like they're energy efficient. Like ceramic tiles are supposedly very, very energy efficient, but they're very expensive and they're very heavy, so I can save in other places. I want you to look at this data and draw a strong conclusion from it. And you might find ways to reduce the size of your building, of your footprint. That could be a thing that you manage to do. So this would say a 2-story building that takes up less area would be more energy efficient than a 1-story building. Now, I'd have to go and check that to be sure, because this is just roof area, and I don't know how my walls or windows are affecting things, but certainly my roof area, if I reduce it, it makes a big difference. Okay? So that's what you need to do. You need to do a roof analysis. Let's look over here. Write an analysis. Okay? So I would think that you would cut and paste the data into here to show it, and then you would write something about it. Usually you do something like, I can see here, I can observe that coloring, insulation, and rad barrier have minimal effect on my total energy use in this application. From that, I can conclude something. Or you can say that I see that the major difference was caused by something. So I can conclude that if I do something, then my energy use will be reduced. Okay? So you have to tie specifics in your data to a series of observations that make it obvious. Like you don't even have to explain it anymore. This is way less than this. So therefore, this is more important, and I will. Okay? This is not important. So I will make it whatever color my client wants. Right? Maybe your client wants green, brown, black. Well, you can then. And based on your energy analysis, you can say that you can support their decision. Uh, so so Eric asks, would adding trees next to the building be something to look at, or is that a separate factor? There actually is a shade factor on the windows, not so much on the walls. The walls, it doesn't make much difference on. But you do get to, in this program, apply a shade factor on the windows. So, yes, it does. You would just have to um, sort of calculate an equivalent overhang that tree is. So, like, as an example, you can put an awning or an overhang on a window in this program and tell it how far out it sticks and whether it has a fascia that goes down. You know, you've seen some awnings that you turn a little winch and a little piece drops down, like a little window screen. So you can do that in this, and then if you decide that, well, that's kind of ugly, I don't want an awning, I want a tree, then you have to say whether the awning is there all the time or only during the summer when the tree is in leaf, or whether you have an evergreen. So there are details to add, but this program does allow for it, which is really cool. You can even do different types of skylights that have, like, a lot of times skylights are bad. They actually let energy leak out versus doing good work for you. And so you can do what's called daylighting controls, which put controls on the windows and the skylights so that the lights will not turn on when the daylighting is at a certain level, or they do turn on when there's other ones, or these awnings and shades come down. It's really cool. This is such a cool part and area of design. I happen to take care of it to present it in the roof analysis, but as you can see, it's the entire thing. It is truly everything. Okay, so so there we go. That's the lecture for today. Unfortunately, I need to cut it just a little bit short because I do have to get ready for another midterm, and it takes me about 5 minutes to do so. But does anybody have kind of a quick question about this? On Thursday, we'll do another review. I'll see if I can get eQuest up and running. I actually had to download it today to this computer because the VMware, I found out while I've got the midterms running, I can't have VMware running because it takes away certain capabilities. So I had to do a quick download today. I'll get it tweaked out and up and running. So you just so Eric asked whether he needs to just go off of my numbers. Correct. You're actually just going to use this set of numbers right here and draw a conclusion out of this set of numbers. And then if you're interested, it would really be cool if you want to get into eQuest and start working with it, or look for one of the more up-to-date ones. In Design 330, as an example, we do the energy analysis and the HVAC analysis and the plumbing analysis and the lighting analysis all in Revit. And we don't use the eQuest other than a double check just to make sure that we're not doing, that our numbers look okay. Okay. Any other great questions? Those were very good, you guys. This is neat stuff, and we'll be able to go over it again on Thursday. So there you go. All right. So I'm going to close up. I'm going to stop the recording.